Cavs needed this one. The Cavs needed this one. It's been a bit of a rough start for the season for the Cleveland Cavaliers, right? You start off against Brooklyn and you get a real close win and you feel good about Max Strus giving you 27, showing up big, but then you drop 3 straight. And it's not just that you drop 3 straight, it's who you drop the 3 straight to, right? You dropped one to Oklahoma City, who wasn't that great of a team last year. Now they project to be much better this year, but still. And the same could be said for the Pacers, but these are teams that you feel like you should be ahead of. And then obviously you lose that game at home versus New York. It's going to give you all kind of PTSD about what happened in the playoffs when it comes to that just embarrassing series. But you came back, you won against New York. You had the NBA in-season tournament game versus the Pacers, and you came out very flat in that game. But you bounced back at the second half. Things didn't bounce your way at the end of that game, but you're still like 2-4. And I don't think anybody expected this Cavs team to start their first 6 games 2-4, and then you play the Golden State Warriors when you've been struggling, a team that you haven't beaten since 2017, well, 2016, 2017. So that's the 3rd LeBron year. Yeah, the 3rd LeBron year. A team you haven't beaten since the 3rd LeBron year, the first KD Warriors year. You played them, and, you know, we're already kind of assuming it's going to go one way because how this has gone in the past, but a much better showing in this game. Now, I want to talk about some players specifically because I think this Cavs team is interesting because of the players that they have, especially somebody like Evan Mobley, because he's getting to that point where we can't keep talking about potential, right? For your first 2 years in the NBA, you will glide off potential. We will only see the bright spots and we will ignore the dark spots on the resume and say, hey, potential can figure that all out, right? We love to do that. When we see a player who's streaky, we look at all the bad streaks, no pun intended, and say, hey, potential gonna fix that, right? Like, how many players in the NBA that were just streaky people thought could be superstars? Like J.R. Smith, for those of you who don't remember when J.R. Smith was younger, people thought he could potentially be a superstar type player because, man, when he flashed, it's good. But all of a sudden, you know, you get past that 3rd year in the NBA and you stop flashing and you start streaking. If this makes any sense, because I know people could take that out of context, but I gotta be more careful. But yeah, basically, you know what I'm saying, right? Like sometimes when you're a young player, we just see like the good stuff and go, oh yes, that's going to be what it's going to be forever. But when you're older and you do that same thing, like a Karis LeVert, we go, he's just having a good week. Right, he'll be back to normal in like a couple weeks or something like that, and that's usually how this thing goes for them, for guys in the NBA, and that's where Evan Mobley is right now. Evan Mobley's in a rough spot. He had 33 and 14 versus the Indiana Pacers. Now they lost that game, but he had 33 and 14, and people were excited. Oh, we getting that step. This is going to be that step offensively. We finally seeing it. It's here. The real Evan Mobley has showed up. And then they played the New York Knicks, and we got smacked in the face with reality. What was that reality in that game? My man Av played 29 minutes, got 6 points, plus minus of 19. At least he got 12 rebounds, right? I mean, at least he got 12. I mean, better than what happened in the playoffs. And then even in the game that they won in New York, I don't believe Evan had a great day. I thought he played well defensively, but I don't think he had a great day. Yeah, plus 8, plus minus, but 14 and 8. So he was all right. He was all right. And then versus the Pacers, so I'm trying to recap the week as well as talk about this game. Versus the Pacers, he was, 14 and 10. And the frustrating thing about Evan Mobley is that if he ends up being a 18-10 guy or an 18-12 guy, it's pretty good for what you normally get out of a third overall pick, because sometimes the third overall pick don't even stay in the league that long. But it's also frustrating because we had such higher hopes for Evan Mobley than just being a all right um, third pick in the draft. Now today, 16 rebounds, 13 points, shot 6 for 10. I thought he was a little clumsy with the basketball in moments, and I think most the game that guys were clumsy with the basketball, like on both sides, but especially the Cavs. I don't know how many turnovers they had as a team. Let me look that up. How many turnovers did the Cavs have as a team in this game? So what? There were 13 turnovers for Golden State, and the Cavs had 18. Yeah, it was just very sloppy basketball that was being played, but I thought that you got some good performances out of two players. Look, Darius Garland. I don't think Darius Garland is the best player on the Cavs, but I do think Darius Garland is the most aggressive player on the Cavs. Like, time in and time out, it gets shown that if you get backed against a wall, or if you need somebody, and I hate this term now because people don't overuse it to hell, but if you need somebody who got that dog in them, that's Darius Garland. Now, Donovan Mitchell's still the better scorer. He's just so phenomenal. He was phenomenal today. 11 and 19, 5 of 11 from 3-point, 31 points. DG wasn't as stellar shooting the ball, 6 of 17, but he made 12 free throws, got to the line a ton, didn't make a single three in this game, but had 7 assists, and that gave him 24 points. It was a real gutsy, grinded out kind of performance from DG in this Cavs team. And that's why I like the most about DG is like when it gets physical, when a game requires an element of physicality, Darius Garland is somebody who shows up. He's not a big guy at all. But when the game requires a physical element, Darius is in there, man. Like, Darius likes to get physical. Darius kind of chirps back a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I like Darius Garland's game. I like that he gets like that. You know what I mean? Like, I mess with him. I mess with him a lot. Another guy I mess with a lot is Max Strus. Now, he didn't have a great 3-point shooting night at all. He was 3 for 10, which is 30%. I mean, that's I guess, but for somebody taking 10 shots, I don't know about that. You probably want him to make like 4 at least. But 6 of 13, 3 of 10, had 15. I just like how Max Strus has been. He's been a real reliable guy on the other side. I think Minivan, George Niang, he's also been somebody who's been more helpful than I thought he would be defensively. He just adds more weight, and that's one of the things that I just think this Cavs team needs so much more of. They need to be heavier. Like, the issues that I see pop up with this team against teams that give them problems, a lot of it has to do with how light they are. And they're not a small team because they'll throw Evan Mobley out here. He's 7 foot. They'll throw, Jared Allen out there, who played well, 12 and 9 today. And I thought he was really solid offensively in most of the possessions, because he got a couple of baskets where he kind of cleaned up a turnover and put it in for points. So Jared Allen was pretty solid in this game. But when you look at like the teams that really get the Cavs trouble, right? The Sixers, Boston doesn't really give them that much trouble. And I would say the Heat and New York, obviously. Those teams are just bigger than the Cavs. They're more physical than the Cavs. They're way more than the Cavs. And I think George Niang, he's just another big body you can throw out there, somebody who's not going to get thrown around easily. And I think Tristan Thompson has been a really nice addition to this team. Now, he had 6 points, 2 of 6 shooting. Okay, I was reading my bad. I was reading George Niang's stat line, and I had to stop when it said 2 for 4. I was like, ain't no way Tristan Thompson was 2 for 4 from 3 point. That's crazy. That's nuts. No, no, no. Okay, Tristan had 3 points and 5 rebounds in 11 minutes with the plus or minus of +2. I just like the physicality, the physical element that he brings to this basketball team is sorely missed, and it's a nice thing to throw in there when you do have a Jared Allen healthy, right? And I think that's what the Cavs were missing. Like, they just, if we look back at some of the things that just went so far wrong in that New York series, part of what went wrong was you had no adjustment that you could go to fight that physicality, right? You had no big that you felt comfortable. Diabite wasn't going to be big enough. Robin Lopez was big enough, but unplayable defensively. Now you have Tristan Thompson, who's big enough. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he's physical enough, right? That's the one thing with Tristan you've never had to worry about. He would always be one of the more physical guys on the court, similar to a Draymond Green. And he's physical enough to kind of bring that mentality there, give you what Lamar Stevens was giving you from a mentality standpoint, but he plays the right position, which is backup center. So that, I think, is going to end up being a really important addition. You know, as more time goes on, I know Kevin Love, I believe he is retired at this point, or he's close to retirement. But I just wonder what that series would have looked like with Kevin Love out there, because we realized what was the issue. It was that boxing out stuff. It was that physicality, and you just didn't have it. And maybe getting rid of Kevin Love was something that didn't help you. But Tristan Thompson, bringing him back, obviously the experience is super important, everything else. But I think just having that physical element there is something that's real helpful for this Cavs team. And, you know, I think we need to find more guys who have that physical element. And Max Strus seems to have a little bit of that in him. George Niang has a little bit of that in him. We know that Evan Mobley, at this point in his career, he's not the biggest guy. He might not be the most physical guy. We know that's true about Jared Allen. That doesn't mean that those players have to be completely useless for this team. That just means we need to complement them with more physical guys, right? For every Evan Mobley or Jared Allen, we need to have a Tristan Thompson, a George Niang. For every guard that we feel like is not super physical, you could feel like you have a Max Strus. Like, you know, you just want to have somebody in there who could do a little bit of that dirty work. And I love that we're seeing that develop in Darius Garland. He seems like somebody who kind of likes these moments where the game gets a little physical, and because he thrives in it and he finishes off contact. Again, it's so crazy, the development of him, because he was awful with that his first year in the NBA. But that's my thoughts on this game and the Cavs season so far. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.